After I was reborn, my whole family could hear my thoughts. Should I tell Dad that his beloved adopted son is actually Mom's illegitimate child? I saw Dad take the illegitimate son's hand, and he suddenly flinched. It's better not to tell my second sister Zoe that she was deliberately raised to be useless by Mom. I saw Zoe, engrossed in her game, suddenly find her phone too hot to handle. If my eldest sister Chloe knew Mom had someone cause her leg injury, would she be heartbroken? I saw Chloe sitting in her wheelchair, practically fuming. Such a dilemma. If they knew Mom did all this just to marry her first love, would this family fall apart? I saw the way my whole family looked at Mom, and it had changed. After just a few arguments with the family's adopted son, my mom cruelly threw me out of a 13th floor window, killing me instantly. After death, I didn't dissipate immediately, but became a wisp of a soul following my mom. So I learned all of Mom's secrets. She married my dad only to climb the social ladder. In reality, she already had a man she loved. She had a son with her first love who was our family's adopted son, Jason. Ever since marrying my dad, Mom had been plotting how to seize the Miller family's assets for herself, then build a wealthy and happy family with her beloved man and her precious son. But unexpectedly, I was reborn. I returned to the day Mom brought Jason home for adoption. "Jason, hurry up and call him Dad," Mom said, bringing Jason before Dad and urging him. Jason was trembling all over, his eyes avoiding everyone's gaze like a frightened little bird. The parts of his arms unintentionally exposed were covered in welts from being whipped. It was this pitiful appearance that made Dad feel sympathy for him at first sight and thereafter treat him as his own, even better than me, fearing he might neglect him. Just as Dad proactively reached out to take Jason's hand, what should I do? Should I tell Dad Jason is actually Mom's illegitimate son? I saw Dad, holding Jason's hand, visibly flinch. He looked left and right, then finally at me. I blinked, looking at him innocently. Dad frowned, thinking he was hallucinating. Next, Jason will throw himself into Dad's arms, crying pitifully to gain Dad's sympathy. The next moment, I saw Jason proactively throw himself into Dad's embrace, then wail loudly. In my previous life, Dad was very moved and cried along with Jason. This time, he couldn't bring himself to cry. His gaze was fixed on me. "Leo, were you talking?" "No," I denied. Then I thought to myself, I can't let Dad know I'm reborn. He'll definitely see me as a monster. Dad's eyes widened like saucers, a look of disbelief on his face. At this moment, Mom kindly stepped forward to console Jason. "Jason, stop crying. This will be your home from now on." Then she turned to me. "Leo, take Jason to his room." "Okay," I readily agreed, silently thinking. In a moment Jason is going to fall down the stairs, and then say I pushed him. Sure enough, Jason had only walked halfway with me when he suddenly tumbled down the stairs. Mom rushed over immediately, held Jason, and asked, "Jason, what's wrong with you?" "It's not Leo's fault. I slipped and accidentally fell down the stairs," Jason said painfully. Mom immediately turned to me sternly. "Leo, Jason will be your brother from now on. How can you target him? Have we spoiled you so much that you're capable of any bad deed?" Dad had also walked over by now. He was clearly not as agitated as Mom. Seeing Dad, Jason quickly said, "Dad, please don't blame Leo. I know he just can't accept my arrival right away. After all, he used to be the only son in the family. I can understand." In the previous life, this was how Jason successfully made Dad prejudiced against me, believing I lacked compassion. Afterward, Jason became even more relentless in slandering me, making Dad increasingly disappointed in me, thus doting on him alone. This time I thought to myself, it's over. It's over. I'm going to be blamed by Mom and Dad again. No matter how I explain, they won't listen. I'd better not say anything. I saw Dad look at me with a hint of guilt and sadness. The next moment, slap. Dad landed a heavy slap on Jason's face, stunning him. I saw Mom standing there momentarily stunned. "Dad," fuming, said, "I saw it clearly. You fell on your own, and you dare to frame Leo. No wonder you were returned after being adopted. Pitiable people always have their hateful side." Adopting Jason was of course Mom's decision. Mom said she saw a pitiful little boy while doing charity work at an orphanage. He had been adopted before, but was abused by that family. She couldn't bear it and wanted to bring him home. She also said that with only me as a boy in the house, bringing him back would give me a companion. Dad, unable to resist Mom's persistent persuasion, Agreed. Originally, Mom and Jason had everything well prepared, but unexpectedly the truth came out on the very first day. Just moments ago, Mom had deliberately stood in front of Dad precisely because she was worried he would see the truth. Jason was so frightened by Dad that he didn't know what to do and could only look to Mom for help. Mom quickly explained, Jason has always been abused and lacks a sense of security, so he might have misperceived some things. It's all a misunderstanding. Look at you making such a big deal out of it. Don't scare the child. Dad was about to expose Mom's scheme when he suddenly heard my thoughts again. If I expose Mom now, not only will she deny it, but it will also alert her. After all, Mom holds a lot of company shares right now. Dad paused. I continued in my thoughts. My two sisters will definitely side with Mom. Usually Mom is the gentle mother and Dad is the strict father. If a real fight breaks out, my sisters might even help Mom. Dad fell silent, likely thinking I had a point. He struggled to suppress his temper and said to Mom and Jason, I don't want this to happen a second time. Jason nodded obediently, still looking pitiful. Mr. Wilson, take him to his room, Dad instructed directly. Mr. Wilson quickly took Jason upstairs. Mom still wanted to explain things to Dad. Her purpose, of course, being to make Dad accept and like Jason more quickly, but this time Dad took my hand and walked away from Mom without looking back. Mom looked at Dad's retreating figure with a bewildered expression. Usually, if she just coaxed Dad a little, he would be all smiles. Why was he suddenly giving her the cold shoulder? I glanced back at her and couldn't help but give a cold smile. She didn't know her good days were about to end, did she? Dad took me back to my room. He looked at me seriously. Leo, tell Dad, do you know something about your mother? My expression was innocent, and I quickly shook my head. I don't know. But in my heart I said, I can't say it. Dad will be disappointed. In my past life, when I found out Mom was seeing another man and told Dad, Dad said I was too young to be spreading rumors. Dad also said I had no compassion. That just because Mom doted on Jason a little more, I was trying to stir up trouble. I'm so afraid Dad won't love me anymore. I saw Dad's eyes instantly well up with tears, his face full of heartache and guilt. He said, Leo, you are Dad's son. Dad will love you most in this life. I love Dad most too. I was very touched and threw myself into his arms. Dad no longer forced me to say more, but after that, I could clearly feel Dad's distance from Mom and Jason. Every time Jason tried to curry favor with Dad, Dad ignored him. When Mom tried to be attentive to Dad, he also paid her no mind. Dad, who usually didn't go to the company much, even started going frequently. During this period, leaving Mom and Jason staring at each other completely bewildered. They couldn't understand why our whole family had suddenly become so smart. Why couldn't they deceive us anymore? Back in Zoe's room, Zoe angrily threw away all the snacks Jason had prepared. As if remembering something, she also uninstalled the games on her phone. After doing all that, she suddenly looked at me and asked seriously, Leo, did I ever disappoint you greatly? I quickly shook my head and encouraged, no, I know Zoe is the best. I didn't forget to add in my heart, Zoe was just deceived by Mom. I know she's very smart and will definitely become an outstanding person in the future. Zoe smiled, looking somewhat touched. She said, Leo, Zoe will work hard to be an outstanding person from now on, and I will never let anyone bully you again. Okay, I believe in you, Zoe. I nodded emphatically. The first thing Zoe did after returning home was to go to the hospital for a full checkup, then hire a personal trainer and create a weight loss plan. Besides losing weight, Zoe picked up her books again, hired a tutor, and started catching up from elementary school. She spent the entire winter break studying and dieting, which left Mom and Jason dumbfounded. They hadn't done anything, so why had Dad and Zoe changed? After Jason came into the family, Dad originally didn't go to the company. All company matters were handled by Mom. Mom was just a little bit away from winning over the company staff and becoming the real power holder. But as soon as Dad went to the company, those shareholders and senior executives who were originally wavering all stopped siding with Mom. Mom was furious. I heard her secretly talking to Jason again, this time with obvious dissatisfaction towards him. What's wrong with you? Didn't I tell you to come back and win over this family? How did you end up making such a mess? This is getting further and further from my plan. How am I supposed to bring your dad here to enjoy life? Mom's voice was reproachful. I don't know either. I did everything you taught me, but they don't believe me. Jason cried aggrievedly. Mom didn't know what went wrong. She was a bit agitated and just threw caution to the wind. Your eldest sister Chloe is coming home for the New Year soon. She trusts me the most and is also the most grateful to me. Don't worry about the others. They're not up to much. Chloe is the designated heir of this family. Yes, I'll definitely perform well this time. I'll make sure Chloe likes me, Jason promised. He probably felt a bit unwilling too. He felt he was better than me in every way, better at reading people, better at presenting himself. How could he not win the whole family's affection? In my previous life, when Mom threw me off the rooftop, he even arrogantly mocked me, saying he had made me lose everything with just one finger. After I accidentally fell from the rooftop and died on the spot that year, Dad and my two sisters were actually very sad. But it wasn't long before they were deceived by Jason's sweet talk, and not long after that they were all wiped out by Mom and Jason. Thinking about everything from my previous life, I clenched my teeth. This time it was Mom and Jason's turn to face retribution. A week before the new year, my eldest sister Chloe returned from recovering abroad. Half a year ago, the brakes on my sister's car suddenly failed, causing a very serious car accident. That day, Dad and I were traveling abroad. Zoe was at home playing games, and Mom was the first to rush to save Chloe. It was said that the rain was particularly heavy that day. The road had collapsed, and the ambulance couldn't reach the accident scene immediately. It was Mom who carried Chloe on her back for several kilometers to get her to the ambulance, and the whole process was filmed by passersby. Everyone was praising the greatness of maternal love. Our whole family's affection for Mom deepened. But the truth was Mom had arranged for someone to tamper with the car, because Chloe was the family heir, so Mom wanted her out of the picture early. If Chloe died and Zoe was useless, then there was only me left. In Mom's mind, I was easy to deal with. She could just bring Jason into the family to replace me. This way the family business would logically fall into her and her son's hands. But unexpectedly, Chloe didn't die on the spot. After the accident, Mom originally didn't want to save her, but she was filmed by passersby, so she had no choice but to stage this tragic drama. Chloe was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. She survived, but her legs were paralyzed. Mom suggested Chloe go abroad for continued treatment, saying the medical equipment there was more advanced and would help her recovery. She even actively helped Chloe contact the best private hospital. The result was predictable. After half a year, Chloe's legs showed no improvement. "Chloe, you're finally back. I've been really wanting to see you." Jason ran up to Chloe, smiling like a social butterfly. He said, "I've heard Mom talk about you so much, saying you're mature, composed, handsome, and dashing. Seeing you is better than hearing about you. You are younger and better looking than I imagined." Chloe had become very insecure and even somewhat withdrawn due to her disability. For a while, Dad and I would often fly abroad to see her, but she always sent us away. She didn't want to see anyone, only Mom. Eventually, we didn't dare to visit her anymore. Now Jason's proactive approach clearly made Chloe a bit uncomfortable, yet she seemed unable to resist his enthusiasm. His eyes were full of joy at seeing her. "Chloe, you must be tired after such a long flight, right? Let me give you a massage." Saying this, he very actively started massaging Chloe's back, constantly asking, "Chloe, is this comfortable? I knew you were coming back, so I specially learned how to massage. The master also taught me how to massage legs to help blood circulation. When you're back, I'll massage them for you every day, okay?" I saw Chloe look a bit awkward, but in the end she accepted. This time I had no thoughts. Let Jason show off for now. As the saying goes, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. If you don't give them a little taste of sweetness, how can you push them to the brink in the end? After that, Jason quickly won over Chloe. He, who was originally a bit self-doubting, became as flamboyant as a peacock at home. Ever since Chloe accepted him, Mom was also very gratified. How could the son she had painstakingly cultivated for so many years be completely useless? How could he be inferior to even me? So they began to make their big move. Jason's 15th birthday was scheduled for 2 days before the new year. Mom busied herself organizing a grand birthday party for Jason at home, inviting all the relatives and friends, which also served to formally introduce him to them. Dad was unwilling. He now had no good feelings for Jason, even deep malice. After all, no one would willingly raise their wife's illegitimate child. To avoid alerting the enemy, Dad endured it. However, Dad didn't participate in the preparations for Jason's birthday party, leaving it all to Mom, out of sight, out of mind. Mom was of course very happy to do it. She had put a lot of effort into this birthday party. So on Jason's birthday, many people came to the house. Mom invited almost all important relatives and friends to celebrate Jason's birthday. The large villa was bustling with excitement. Jason wore a handsome pink suit and stayed by Mom's side. Mom was enthusiastically introducing Jason to everyone. Dad couldn't stand it and went back to his room, claiming he had something to do. Zoe didn't even come downstairs, her excuse being that she had to study. Only Chloe, who had never socialized since her legs became disabled after the accident, still appeared in the hall for Jason. Jason, after accompanying Mom on a round of greetings, appeared before me. I happened to be alone in the dessert area eating. He said with a grin, "Leo, this suit I'm wearing was a gift from Chloe. I heard it's very expensive. I love it. Do you think it looks good?" Jason twirled a few times in front of me, deliberately showing off. It was the same in the previous life. He used this method to fuel my resentment towards him, then made himself appear weak and helpless. I had indeed fallen for his trick before and had a very unpleasant conflict with him. This led to the entire family and even everyone attending his birthday party accusing me of not being sensible enough. This time I couldn't be bothered with him and just said lightly, "It's really nice. It suits you. Aren't you jealous?" Jason, seeing I hadn't fallen for it, continued to stir up trouble. "Not jealous at all," I said magnanimously. "Chloe bought me many nice clothes before. Today is your birthday, and she bought you a suit. What's there to be jealous about? I thought you'd be unhappy. I heard you used to be the most attached to Chloe. These past few days Chloe has spent more time with me to help me adjust to this family. I was worried you'd be upset. It's good that you're not. I misunderstood you. You're not that dependent on Chloe." At that moment, Chloe happened to roll over in her wheelchair. I don't know what Jason had been saying to Chloe these past few days. Anyway, Chloe clearly had a protective instinct towards Jason. Seeing us alone together now, she was afraid I would bully Jason, so she came over. Jason of course saw her. These words were deliberately spoken for Chloe to hear. He wanted to tell Chloe that my feelings for her weren't as deep as his. "Didn't Mom say you were new to this family and unfamiliar, so we should all take more care of you? Am I supposed to be like you, pushing my luck and monopolizing Chloe all the time?" I asked him, feigning confusion. Jason was made a bit uncomfortable by my words, but only for a second. The next moment he shamelessly started accusing me. "Are you blaming me for monopolizing Chloe? But you just said you didn't mind." As he spoke, tears streamed down his face as if they were free. Anyone who didn't know would think I had done something to him. Chloe, seeing Jason crying so hard, her voice turned a bit deep. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Jason said pitifully. "I'll definitely be more mindful in the future. Leo, please don't be angry, okay? I came to this family to join you, not to break you up." Even though it was the second time I heard it, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. How shameless did Jason have to be to say such a thing? "Leo." Chloe, seeing the smirk on my lips, her face darkened further. Without even asking for the details, she immediately sided with Jason. "Jason just came to this family. He's not familiar with anything. Dad and Zoe are ignoring him. As his younger brother, can't you take care of him a little? Does Chloe really think I should take care of him?" I asked her seriously. "Shouldn't you?" Chloe retorted. "You've been spoiled by the family since you were little. You don't know how to yield at all. As it happens now that Jason is here, you should also learn how to get along with your peers." With that, Chloe was about to take Jason aside, leaving me alone in the banquet hall. Even though I had experienced this once in my previous life, I still felt very uncomfortable. I suppressed my impulse. After all, the good show was yet to come. I watched as Chloe prepared to leave with Jason. They had just taken 2 steps when Jason's pink suit suddenly ripped with a hiss. The back hem of the suit was easily stepped. However, I didn't step on it. It was Jason who, while Chloe wasn't looking, deliberately stepped on his own clothes. The moment Chloe turned her head, he quickly hit his foot, then covered the somewhat indecent area exposed due to the torn clothes. He looked completely devastated and couldn't help but loudly question me. "Leo, how could you do this to me?" Only Chloe had noticed the little tiff between Jason and me, and perhaps Mom too. Mom was fully prepared for tonight. At this moment, because of Jason's shriek, everyone in the hall was drawn over. Jason looked even more devastated and ashamed. Chloe quickly took off her suit jacket and handed it to Jason. Jason took it, looking aggrieved, and wrapped it tightly around himself like a frightened little bird, evoking pity. What's wrong? Mom also came over at this point. I, I, Jason stammered, afraid to speak in front of so many people. Chloe, what exactly happened? Mom asked Chloe. Chloe was blunt, not sparing me any face, and directly blamed me. Leo stepped on Jason's clothes and ripped them. Leo, how could you treat your brother like that? It's his birthday today. Can't you be less jealous? He's never had a proper birthday in 15 years. Never had a proper birthday? So were you celebrating with a dog every year? At this moment, there were some murmurs in the hall. Is Leo really that spoiled? How could he embarrass Jason like this in public? No matter what, Jason is now a son of this family. Since he entered their home, how can Leo be so domineering? I heard this Jason kid has had a very hard life. Leo really has no empathy at all. Everyone was blaming me. I saw Mom and Jason could barely hide their triumphant smiles. They thought their scheme was about to succeed. I calmly began to send my thoughts to Chloe. No matter how I explain now, it's useless, right? Even my dearest sister Chloe thinks I deliberately stepped on Jason's suit. I saw Chloe freeze for a moment. She was clearly a bit puzzled why she heard my voice when she didn't see me speak. It's nothing for me to be wronged, but I really don't want Chloe to be kept in the dark about everything by Mom. If Chloe knew Mom hired someone to cause her leg injury, would she be heartbroken? She loves Mom so much, I don't want Chloe to be sad. Chloe was sitting in her wheelchair and I watched her face suddenly change drastically. Her hands gripped the sides of the wheelchair tightly, her body trembling with anger. Jason was very close to Chloe. He immediately sensed the change in Chloe's emotions, and a smile almost escaped his lips. He thought Chloe was standing up for him, that Chloe was angry at me. Jason probably felt the time was ripe, and quickly said, Leo, if you dislike me this much, I'll leave this family. Being able to come to this family and enjoy this month of happiness with a dad, mom, sister, and brother, I already feel very happy. I dare not ask for more, and I don't want to make you unhappy. Leo, if you're unhappy, no matter how much I like this family, I won't feel happy. Jason's heartfelt words instantly moved everyone. Relatives and friends began to criticize me again. Leo, this is you being insensible. Jason is being so considerate of you. Why can't you get along with him? Listen to your aunt. Apologize to Jason. Don't be so willful. Jason is so kind-hearted. Having such a brother is your blessing. Hurry up and apologize to your brother. Don't hurt his feelings. Seeing so many people on his side, Jason became even more confident. He said, please don't make things difficult for Leo. I don't want him to be sad in this family. He paused, seeming a bit sad, and after a long moment said, I was adopted anyway. I never belonged to this family. Please don't talk about Leo. If he doesn't like me, I should leave. Since I brought you home, you belong to this family, Mom said firmly, playing along with Jason. I have nothing that belongs to this family, Jason said sadly. I have nothing. I haven't made any contribution to this family. How can you be so unconfident? Mom said with a helpless look. Mom, please send me to the orphanage tonight. That's where I belong. How can I prove that you have status and identity in our family? How can I make you feel that our whole family welcomes you? Mom looked very anxious, like an ant on a hot pan, desperate to keep Jason but unable to think of a better way. If I hadn't experienced it once myself, I would have been fooled by her again. Mom didn't become an award-winning actress. She had been acting flawlessly in our Miller family for over a decade. Mom wasn't actually my biological mother. My biological mother passed away in an accident less than a year after I was born. Mom was just a junior manager in Dad's company. After learning that Dad was widowed, she began to pursue him aggressively. Dad hadn't considered Mom at all before. He had deep feelings for my biological mother. But he couldn't resist Mom's efforts, which started with me and my two sisters. She was very good to us, so good that my two sisters, Dad, and I were all taken aback. When I was 3, I had a very high fever. Dad was supporting the company alone after my biological mother passed away and happened to have an urgent company matter that day, so he couldn't leave. That night, it was Mom who volunteered to take me to the hospital. When Dad finished his work and rushed to the hospital, he saw Mom holding me, asleep on the hospital bed. For 2 whole years, Dad was finally moved by Mom. Relatives, including those from my biological mother's side, all persuaded Dad to accept Mom. Dad finally let down his guard and married Mom. When Mom got married, she even made a public vow, saying she would love Dad for a lifetime. take care of me and my two sisters for a lifetime, and that she would only have us 3 children in her life. Mom kept her word and didn't have any more children with Dad for over a decade. Actually, there was a time when Dad considered having children with Mom. The family was well off, and they could afford to raise a few more children. He also hoped to leave Mom with a bloodline. But Mom disagreed, saying that 3 children were her bloodline, and she was very content. Seeing Mom so firm, Dad didn't insist further, but his feelings for Mom clearly deepened. Later, my two sisters and I all started calling her Mom. In the eyes of outsiders, Mom was devoted and great. No one could have imagined that all of this was Mom's conspiracy. She didn't have children with Dad because she already had a son with her childhood sweetheart. She also didn't want any ties with Dad through children. From the very beginning, she wanted our family to be destroyed. In the previous life, she indeed succeeded. She snatched Dad's company, drove Dad to jump off a building, left Chloe to fend for herself abroad with crippled legs, watched Zoe die from illness, and pushed me off the rooftop, ensuring I died with grievances. She, along with her childhood sweetheart and her precious son Jason, brazenly enjoyed everything that belonged to our Miller family. At this moment, someone in the hall suddenly said, "Isn't that simple? Jason doesn't feel secure in this family, so you give him security. Give him shares in Miller Corporation now. Once he has shares, who can say he's not a Miller?" The person speaking, though a relative on Dad's side, had long been bought by Mom. And the reason she used this method was also because Mom had succeeded with it before. Back then, Mom, in order to share the burden for Dad, became a senior executive in the company. However, she was criticized for not being competent enough for the position, all self-orchestrated by Mom, of course. Dad, in a fit of anger, gave Mom 20% of the shares. Now Mom wanted to use the same trick again. "I can't accept it, I can't." Jason quickly refused, looking considerate and aggrieved. In the previous life, Dad gave these shares. Dad felt sorry for Jason and gave him 10% of the shares. At that time, Dad only had 30%, so after giving Jason 10, he was left with 20. Of the other shares, 20% were in Chloe's hands, 20% in Mom's, and another 30% were distributed among various non-family shareholders. Mom used her 20% and Jason's 10%, then secretly acquired some shares from other shareholders, and also set a trap for my sister to take out 10%, becoming the largest shareholder of Miller Corporation. This time, Dad was here. I saw Mom shift her gaze to Chloe. She said, "Chloe, Mom has never asked you for anything. You also know that the shares Mom holds are to better help your dad with his work at the company. You're currently recuperating and don't need to work. Give Jason 10% for now, and Mom will find a way to make it up to you later." Mom said it as if it were a matter of course. She didn't think Chloe would refuse her. How could she refuse? Just now, Chloe had publicly embarrassed me to defend Jason. If she gave Jason the shares now, it would be the best lesson for me. She felt Chloe couldn't refuse, but she hadn't noticed that Dad and Zoe had come downstairs. A servant must have informed them. Dad and Zoe were afraid I would be at a disadvantage, so they rushed down. So at this moment, the whole family heard my thoughts together. If Chloe gives her shares to Jason, Mom will be one step closer to seizing our family's assets. Actually, Chloe's leg isn't incurable. Mom just never seriously tried to get it treated. The doctors abroad were deliberately arranged by her. Such a dilemma. If they knew Mom did all this just to marry her first love, would this family fall apart? I saw the way the whole family looked at Mom, and it had completely changed. Chloe was so angry. Her hair was practically smoking. At this moment, Jason was still deliberately refusing, acting cute in front of Chloe. "Mom, I don't want it. How can I take Chloe's shares?" "Chloe, don't listen to Mom. I wouldn't be so insensible." As he spoke, he even proactively reached out to take Chloe's arm, wanting to act cute and charming. But as soon as he touched Chloe, there was a loud thud. He was pushed to the ground by Chloe with a sudden force, looking exceptionally disheveled, stunning everyone. Even Jason was so shocked he forgot to cry out in pain. Mom was the first to react in disbelief. "Chloe, what are you doing? How can you treat Jason like that? Are you out of your mind?" "Huh?" Chloe sneered. The look in her eyes towards Mom was as if she wanted to cut her into 1,000 pieces. In my previous life, after I died and became a soul following Mom, the moment I learned the truth, I also wished I could bite Mom to death, but I couldn't. I calmed myself, thinking, Chloe has no evidence to accuse Mom right now, No one will believe her, and they'll think our whole family is bullying Jason. It's not worth letting Mom and Jason tarnish our family's reputation. There are security cameras in the house. If we replay the footage, we'll know if Jason was framing me. I saw my sister struggling to control herself. Mom was still berating Chloe, saying her temperament had changed since the accident. Others also thought Mom had a point and sided with her, until Chloe instructed, "Mr. Wilson, pull up the surveillance footage from the hall just now." As soon as Jason heard surveillance, he panicked. He quickly looked at Mom. Mom was also a bit flustered and said, "Why are you pulling up the surveillance footage?" Chloe ignored her. Mom roared at Mr. Wilson, "No need to pull up the footage. I make the decisions in this house." Dad spoke, his aura powerful and chilling. "Mr. Wilson, play the footage." "Yes, sir." Seeing that the situation was irreversible, Jason quickly got up from the floor. "Since Chloe doesn't welcome me, and the whole family doesn't welcome me, then I'll leave. I'll just leave. No one is allowed to leave until my brother's name is cleared," Chloe reprimanded. Although her legs were currently disabled, she was after all the air personally groomed by Dad, and her presence was no less imposing than Dad's. It was just the accident that had temporarily made her despondent. Jason didn't dare to speak. Mom tried to speak several times, but eventually closed her mouth. The surveillance footage was played, and everyone saw clearly that Jason had deliberately torn his own suit and then, like a villain, falsely accused me. Public opinion immediately reversed. Jason was drowned in saliva. At this moment, even with the thickest skin, he was humiliated to death. "Send him away." Dad didn't waste any more words. "I never want to see him again. No, I'm not leaving." Jason couldn't bear it when he heard he was being sent away. He had just started living in this nice house, just acquired the status of a young master of the Miller family. He couldn't bear to leave. It had to be said, Mom hadn't dared to give Jason and his father too much over the years, fearing exposure. What Jason was enjoying in our family now was naturally completely different from what he enjoyed with his father. "I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. Dad, please give me another chance, okay?" Jason cried his heart out. If everyone hadn't seen his true colors, they would have been deceived by him again. Dad didn't even look at him. "Send him away. Don't dirty this house." "Mom, Mom." Jason pleaded with Mom again. Mom, of course, wasn't stupid. She knew Jason was useless and decisively cut ties with him. "I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I misjudged you. I'll send you away right now." Then she said to Dad, "I really didn't expect him to be such an actor. I'll send him away immediately. Don't be angry." Dad chuckled lightly. Looking at Mom now was like watching a clown. Mom thought Dad was just angry and didn't think much of it, so she dragged Jason away. Although Mom loved her first love and her biological child very much, she valued money even more. Otherwise, she wouldn't have abandoned her husband and child for money. So after Jason was kicked out this time, he wouldn't have a good life. Mom would definitely blame everything on Jason. Of course, for our whole family this wasn't important. What was important was how to make Mom lose everything and get what she deserved. After Mom sent Jason away, the first thing she did when she returned was to apologize to our entire family in front of all the guests. Mom was very remorseful and appeared very innocent. She said she didn't know Jason was like that. She had been deceived by him too. She had been so good to Jason and her feelings were deeply hurt. Dad said bluntly, "The one who was hurt the most is Leo. He was almost framed by Jason." Mom quickly nodded. Yes, Leo was hurt the most. It's Mom's fault. Mom apologizes to you, okay? Mom promises never to be soft-hearted and adopt other children again. You are Mom's only son." I wanted to vomit, but I held it back. Dad said, "Since harm has been done, a few words of comfort are too insincere. You should make substantial compensation." Then Leo, "Tell Mom, what do you want? I'll give you anything." Mom said sincerely. "Anything?" I asked her innocently. Of course. When has Mom ever gone back on her word? Mom promised. She thought she could, as always, buy my heart with just a little candy. "I want Mom's shares in Miller Corporation," I said directly. I saw Mom's expression visibly change. After a long pause, she stammered, "You're only 14. Shares aren't practical for you." But Mom just said she was going to give shares to Jason. Am I not as important as Jason in Mom's eyes? I asked her, looking hurt, seemingly casually remarking, "Is Jason your biological son?" This sentence directly scared Mom. How could that be? "Don't talk nonsense. I only have you as a son." Then why was Mom willing to give shares to Jason, but not to me? My shares are to help your father in the company. No need, Dad said. Chloe has already agreed to go to work at the company. Chloe isn't. Mom didn't believe it. She was convinced Chloe would remain despondent. I am the eldest daughter of the family. I should bear the family's responsibilities, Chloe said word by word. Mom gritted her teeth, clearly still unwilling but couldn't find a reason to refuse. Can Mom give me the shares now? You just said you would agree to anything. I asked. I looked at her expectantly. With so many people in the hall, all the guests were watching her. If she refused, she wouldn't be able to save face. She gritted her teeth. Right now, she didn't dare to tear a rift with their family. In her view, if she tore off the facade, she would only have this 20% of the shares. If she didn't, she still had a chance to make a comeback. She had spent so many years getting to this point. How could she be reconciled? She said, okay. Mom reluctantly parted with her shares. I said happily, is Mom going to give me all her shares? 10% will be enough for you. I asked your sister to give Jason that much too, Mom bargained. In Mom's eyes, shouldn't I be more important than Jason? I said, looking hurt. Mom didn't speak for a long time, clearly unwilling. Dad said bluntly, when you took my shares, you repeatedly said you wouldn't want them, that they would all be left for the children. Now that it's just giving them to Leo a bit earlier to compensate for his hurt feelings, you're not willing? Mom was cornered by Dad and couldn't back down. With so many relatives and friends watching her, once good mother image, whether to maintain it or not was up to her. If she maintained her image, her decades of planning would be wasted. But if she didn't maintain her image, she would only have this 20%. She wouldn't be satisfied. Dad didn't rush Mom, giving her time to think carefully. Anyway, he wasn't the one who was embarrassed. Beads of sweat dripped down Mom's forehead. People nearby began to whisper. No one really does things for nothing, right? It's just that she spoke too confidently before, a bit of a slap in the face. If you really treat your children as your own, why would you care about these shares? Still, selfish people are selfish. In front of so many people, Mom ultimately couldn't bring herself to lose face. I saw a hint of ruthlessness flash in her eyes, gone in an instant. The next moment she suddenly appeared very magnanimous and said, how could I not be willing? I said when I took these shares back then that I was keeping them for the children. I was just considering whether to give Zoe 10%. Since Chloe and Leo have shares, Zoe can't have less. I don't need them, just give them to Leo. Zoe directly refused. Everyone knew her intentions. She thought Zoe was the easiest to control. The diligence Zoe was showing now was all an act and wouldn't last more than a few days. Since Zoe doesn't want them, I'll give them to Leo, Mom said, going with the flow. Thank you, Mom. I also accepted gladly. Dad didn't delay at all, directly calling the company lawyer to sign the share transfer agreement on the spot. Mom probably never imagined that bringing Jason here to help her would end up with her losing both the lady and the soldiers. She must be regretting it deeply. Of course, for our whole family this was far from enough. In the previous life, she had destroyed our family. In this life, we would naturally repay her double. After that, our family returned to normal, but it was clear that Mom was starting to panic. She had no shares, no control over the company. Dad and Chloe went to work as usual, and Chloe would also find time for rehabilitation. Zoe was frantically working out and studying. I was still the family favorite. Our family was developing in an increasingly better direction. Contrary to what Mom wanted, she finally couldn't take it anymore. She used the excuse that a relative back home was in trouble and needed her to return to her hometown for a trip and left. On the night she left, she secretly rented a car and drove dozens of kilometers back to the villa. While our whole family was asleep, she started a fire and burned down our villa. It was past 3 in the morning, everyone was asleep, and none of the neighbors noticed. By the time the property management discovered it, the fire had already engulfed the entire villa. The firefighters took a whole night to completely extinguish the blaze. Mom only rushed back after being notified the next day. As soon as she returned, she knelt on the ground, crying her heart out. Onlookers couldn't help but feel sorry for her and came forward to comfort her. Mom seemed not to hear, utterly devastated. If I had known, I wouldn't have left. If I had known, I would have died with you. You're dead. What's the point of me living alone? She acted so convincingly. No one saw the triumphant smile in her eyes. Now that our whole family was dead, she was the sole heir. Just as she was secretly pleased, Mom I called her from behind. I saw Mom's body tremble. She thought she was hallucinating. Honey, Dad also called her. She turned around trembling and looked back, seeing our whole family standing behind her, safe and sound. She was so scared she collapsed to the ground. Have you become ghosts? We're alive and well, I said. We went on a sea trip yesterday and just got back. You weren't home. Mom instantly became agitated. The fury in her eyes was truly uncontrollable. She wished she could kill us immediately. No, I replied, then asked innocently, what happened to our house? Mom's eyes started to dart around. She was struggling to control herself. I heard there were stray cats a few days ago. I think I installed a few hidden cameras at the entrance. Let me check, I said, about to take out my phone to review the surveillance footage. Mom was directly frightened. She scrambled up from the ground, snatched my phone, and smashed it violently on the ground. Everyone looked at her. Mom smiled and said, "It's good that you're all okay. Nothing else matters as long as our family is together." Our family is indeed together, but without you, Dad made it clear. What? Honey, what are you saying? Mom was so flustered she could no longer hide it. Dad said, "Don't you know best what you've done? I've handed all the evidence to the police. Next, you just prepare to face the legal consequences." What are you saying? What are you saying? Mom went completely mad. Even mad. She wouldn't admit to anything she had done. I've already given the police the video of you setting fire to the villa last night, Dad said. Then his eyes shifted. Look, the police are already here. Seeing the police, Mom turned and ran. But how could she be a match for the police? She was subdued in a few moves, looking utterly wretched as she was taken into the police car. She shouted at us, "How did you find out? How did you find out? I did it so perfectly. How could you possibly find out?" She couldn't understand where she had gone wrong. She couldn't accept that her many years of enduring humiliation would ultimately lead to her own destruction. Mom was eventually sentenced to 10 years in prison because she did not cause any casualties. After she was imprisoned, I still went to see her. The moment she saw me, she was very agitated. She said, "Leo, you still love Mom, don't you? When Mom gets out of prison, Mom will take you to the amusement park. Mom will buy you delicious food." "I don't love you," I interrupted her, feeling disgusted. "Then why did you come? You came to see me because you couldn't bear to part with me? I came to laugh at you." A cruel smile curled on my lips. Such a smile should not exist on the face of a 15-year-old boy. Mom's eyes were full of terror. Who are you? You're not Leo. How could I not be? It's just not what you imagined." I looked at her, my smile deepening. "Mom, you must be very curious why after all your scheming you ended up failing, right? Why?" Mom was very agitated. "Because," I looked at her, saying word by word, "heaven punishes every bad person. Otherwise, how could I have been given a chance to be reborn?" Mom thought I was playing with her and almost stood up to hit me. Just as she made the move, she was pressed down by the prison guards. The pain immediately made her soften and beg for mercy. Seeing her like this was truly satisfying. I said, "Mom, whether we're related by blood or not, we were mother and son after all. Let me give you a gift." Mom looked at me, a hint of anticipation in her eyes. I told her word by word, "Jason is not your biological son." When Jason first came back, Dad had a DNA test done and found out there was no maternal relationship. But photos of Mom's affair with her first love were indeed captured by the private investigator Dad hired. So I knew all of Mom's secrets. Impossible. Impossible. Mom didn't believe it, but she was already breaking down. "When you get out of prison, go find the answers yourself. That would probably be very interesting." Of course, this was no longer within my concern. How Mom would cruelly retaliate against her first love, how cruelly she would treat Jason, that was all her business. At worst, I'd just watch another joke. I walked out of the prison, looking at the clear blue sky outside, and smiled with relief. I was going to fully enjoy the family warmth I couldn't enjoy in my previous life. I sincerely wish that all the good things in this world will always be with you and me.